Welcome to the Martin Bailey Photography Podcast. It's February 2, 2023, and this is episode 804. This is the final episode in a three-part series to walk you through my first Hokkaido winter landscape photography tour in 3 years, and we had an absolute blast. We pick up the trail on our second visit to the boat graveyard when I shot this image from the side with the winter sun peeping through the clouds. I can't help thinking that these boats are being tormented by their view of the sea on which they once revelled, but now no longer seaworthy. They're stuck in their open, icy graves. More boats have been abandoned a little further into the boatyard, and this year even the ships down in the main harbour area have fallen into disrepair. I'm not a huge fan of this second set of boats, although some guests understandably prefer this batch. I couldn't resist shooting this when the sky started to get interesting. With the snow in the area being considerably more sparse than usual, I decided to take the group to Cape Sawyer, the northernmost tip of Japan, and as we pulled up for what we initially only intended to be a restroom break, we saw that it had snowed slightly and noticed a bank of snow clouds that were gradually becoming pink as the sunset to the west illuminated them from the side. As you can see from this image, there is a strip of water that is shallower than further out, and this water is like a mill pond as the pink in the sky deepened. We were all running around deciding our optimal angles, and the excitement in the air was electric. This is the sort of scene and atmosphere that I sometimes see in my dreams and for one reason or another am unable to photograph, which drives me crazy. The best light lasted about 5 to maybe 10 minutes, and then it was gone. But I got several images that I'm really happy with, including some stitched panoramas that will look amazing when printed big. The following morning we went back to Cape Sawyer, this time on our planned visit as we rounded the Cape to head down the east coast of the island. With the snow that fell on the previous evening and some fresh snow that was falling as we arrived, we were treated to another great sky as the snow clouds burst through the regular clouds almost as though they were fighting with each other, especially the clouds that you can see here behind these fishing boats. There is a lake near to where we stopped for lunch, and we called in for 30 minutes before we continued our drive to the destination for the next 2 days. As we walked up to the fence around the lake, a few flocks of swans flew into the lake, and I got a handful of images that I liked, with this one probably being my favourite. I enjoy extremes, either in the lack of contrast, like the subtle horizons in some of the minimalist landscapes that I've shared in this series, or like this, where the white of the swans really contrasts against the dark blue sky. I was pointing my camera straight up by the time I got this particular image. I continued to shoot as I arched my back past straight up, but this shot is my favourite of the set. This is actually the first time I'm using the high frame rate of the EOS R5 for wildlife in Hokkaido, and it was nice to have a high frame rate again. I used the R5 in Namibia for wildlife at the end of my complete Namibia tour in 2022, but here in Japan it felt fresh again, and made me look forward to getting started on my dedicated wildlife tours even more. I was very disappointed to find that there was an ugly seawall and what looked like a new fishing harbour being built, taking up most of the beach where we used to photograph in previous visits. There is still plenty to shoot in this area, but I'm hoping that we get a lovely fishing port for next year's visit to compensate for the loss. Of course, we are shooting most of what we do on this trip based on the kindness of people who either give us permission to shoot or through being accepted into some very small communities. So I don't want to appear ungrateful. Still, I do hope it turns into something nice. The other scenes that we shot in this area were still intact, and one of my favourites is this distant scene that we shoot with long telephoto lenses to isolate the top of a snow-covered hill and the copse of trees that is perched upon it. For this photograph I stitched two images together because zooming out starts to include the tops of the trees just below what you see here, and I didn't want them to spoil the scene. I love the texture of the snow in this photo, and the sun was peeping out through a hole in the clouds, making some interesting shadows on the hillside. That fence leading down the hill also adds so much to this scene. I always enjoy coming back here. On the previous day we'd visited a fishing port, but the snow had been driven through and the light was a little harsh, so I didn't share any of those images. But the following morning we went back after a bit of snow had fallen, cleaning up the tracks a little, and we had a better sky on our second visit. This is why I plan multiple visits to places, because we don't always get what we want on the first visit, and most of the time my guests are happy to get a chance to return. Ultimately, the diligent photographer shares only the better images with their audience, and all works out for the best. I was already completely satisfied with my photos of the copse on the hill from the previous day, but a number of guests wanted to return, so of course that's what we did. Here is a stitched panorama made from images shot at a focal length of 100mm, showing the broader scene below the hill. The sky was clearer on our second visit, so we had some long afternoon shadows from the trees on the left side. In the narrower stitched panorama of the top of the hill that I shared earlier, I was shooting at 500mm, but for this wider panorama I zoomed out a little to 343mm, and that did, of course, mean that I had the top of the trees entering the frame, so I have cloned them out in this next photo after stitching several frames together. I like the results a lot, and again would love to print this out really big at some point. To finish, we go back to ultra minimalist again, with this photo from the same location, just capturing the line of fence posts along the ridge of an adjacent hill. This is the final image that I wanted to share, so we'll start to wrap up this series now, but I do have a recording to share from the bus the following morning as we headed to our final shooting location and then on to the airport to fly back to Tokyo. For any of the guests that listened to this episode, I wanted to thank you for coming and for putting up with the remaining COVID regulations that the Japanese government has still got in place. You were all good sports, and I hope to travel with you again at some point. Anyway, here's the recording. I hope you enjoy the comment from each of the guests. So here we are at the end, the final day of the first Hokkaido winter landscape photography tour in 3 years, thanks to the pandemic. It's day 12. We're going to be heading back to Tokyo in a short while, but we're going to go around the bus and get a comment from each of the guests. So, Simon, would you like to start?
Sure. Very much enjoyed the tour. I think the highlights for me have been BA and around Lake Saroma. One of my particular or abiding memories will be of a line of photographers across about 250 metres up the road and a fox about 30-40 metres away trotting past the line. Great conditions, extremely well organised, great hotels, very much enjoyed it, and from the glimpses of wildlife here and there, I shall think very seriously about the wildlife tour in a year or two.
It'd be great to see you again.
Great thanks to Martin for organising this excellent tour. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Kevin, you want to say anything?
Yes, well, I learned a few things on this trip. One of them, I guess, thanks to my friends on Facebook, it is possible to share too many pictures of those damn boats. So I have taken rather too many pictures of fishing boats. My main objectives, my main hopes were the isolated trees and the torii gate, and those have been filled above and beyond my expectations. And overall, I'd say the tour was very well organized, ran smoothly despite the obstacles thrown in our way, and Martin and the driver and Reiko all did their best to make sure we're on track, on time, well fed, arriving where we should, when we want. So yes, splendid trip. Thank you.
Thank you.
So yeah, it's been a really good trip. I mean, the landscape speaks for itself, but I think the important thing also is the organisation around the trip. Martin and the team have done a great job of starting from actually having a coach that's big enough so we're not playing sardines, which has been really pleasant. The hotels have been great, the food's been great, and the organisation getting us in and out, getting us shooting. And there were some real highlights that I wasn't expecting. The blue waterfall was, for me, just stunning, just absolutely stunning. I was not expecting that at all. I should have looked more carefully, I guess, at your site. But and obviously the isolated trees was what I really came for, and we got some great shots of those. So thanks very much.
Okay.
Well, it's been an absolutely wonderful trip. We've had 12 days of great scenery, great camaraderie. I think everyone on the bus has got on so well, and part of that's the glue of that is the team leader, which is Martin, who's done a great job. The scenery's been stunning and the snow conditions fabulous. I'll take away the memories of those lone trees in BI. I'll take away the memories of the torii gate and the tetrapods being washed by the sea. But it's been really fabulous. Thanks, Martin. I think we'll all agree as Japan photography, Martin is Mr. Hokkaido.
Thank you very much.
I want to thank Martin for everything from beginning to the end. It was fabulous. It is fabulous. I'm going to love it. I'm going to take away all this great memory, great pictures. It's going to stay with me forever. Everything about the tour was wonderful. The food, which was amazing. I loved it. The culture I learned, and the photos I learned to photograph with your leadership. It was great. It's just so wonderful. Everyone should come to Hokkaido and take a tour with Martin. Thank you.
So weird. Want to say
Yeah,
something?
yeah, I really like the pace and freedom of the trip, and I really learned a lot from Martin and everyone in the trip. Yeah, so, and the beauty of Hokkaido, I'll definitely come back again and probably do the other tour.
Okay, excellent. Lovely
Thank
to
you,
see
Martin.
Thank you. John.
There's been enough said about the quality of the tour, but I've got to say that the food was cordon bleu standard.
Yeah.
Never been on a trip before with that level of food. Excellent, well done.
Jay. You want to say something?
This is Jay from Indianapolis, and it's been another wonderful trip with Martin and a great group of photographers, going home with some fantastic images, and I look forward to coming back again next year for a second attempt at the wildlife tour. So I guess that says it all.
Yeah, it's going to be great to travel with you again for the sixth time.
Oh, this is Lee from San Francisco area. I really enjoy this experience. Hokkaido is beautiful. Special perks for seeing a fox and some eagles. And everything was just done fabulously well. So thank you, Martin. Shout out to Reiko-san and Tobi-nai-san.
Okay, excellent.
Thank you.
Steve, do you want to say anything?
Hi, Martin. I must say I particularly enjoyed the countryside and the various views of trees and country country, mountains and so on. That was really, really the highlight for me.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, here we go.
Well, we're so anxious to get back here to do the landscape trip after having done the wildlife, and of course everything expertly run, and the food was wonderful. And on the landscape trip, as with wildlife, I really like that we revisit a location more than once. We have insurance days, and we have the time to look at pictures, go back on a different day, different conditions, and that really helps the creative process. So thanks for that. That's really good.
Okay, excellent.
Well, having been on the wildlife tour with Martin several years ago, we decided to come back and try this, and I really appreciated the assistance that Martin gave me with the long exposures and capturing the snowfall, which was amazing. The snowfall is fantastic here, and I hope I can get back to Hokkaido someday.
Okay,
Thanks,
excellent.
Mart.
Michael, you want to say something?
Sure. Well, I really appreciated Martin's expert guidance around the landscapes of Hokkaido. Highlight for me was spending a few days near the beginning of the trip around BA, and I will certainly treasure the photographs I'm coming back with.
Excellent, thank you. So, Reiko, do you want to say anything?
Yes. Thank you for everybody. I appreciate your cooperation and your patience in my English also. And I look forward to see you again and sometime, and without your mask. Okay. And I hope you enjoy extra day in your during stay in Japan. はい、ありがとう。さよなら。
Thank you very much. Okay, just to finish, let's give a big round of applause for Toby Naisan for taking us around the island. Toby Naisan, thank you very much. Okay, thank you everybody. Hope to see you again soon. I'm releasing this while travelling on the first of my 2 Japan winter wildlife tours for this year. I hope you've enjoyed these 3 episodes. If the tour is of interest to you, we do still have places on the 2024 tour, so check out our tour page at mbp.ac/tours, and you can check tour availability from that page and jump to each individual tour page by clicking on the graphics. Thanks very much for listening today. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider supporting us on Patreon, which comes with various tiers and benefits depending on your contribution. For details, check out our Patreon page at mbp.ac/Patreon. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn, and links to everything that I'm up to are at martinbaileyphotography.com, so do drop by and take a look. I'll be back next week with another episode, but in the meantime, you take care and have a great week, whatever you're doing. Bye bye.